Yang saya sampai sekarang belum ngerti itu dengan konsep mau buka tutup pakai itu kosnya berapa? Itu pelabuhan datang itu lokasi pelabuhan di Rotterdam. Dan yang kedua juga I'm a geologist. I'm not a geologist. I was a geologist. Now I'm a politician.
New profession.
Oh yeah.
The honorable representatives from the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, delegates from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment of the Kingdom of Netherlands, and the highest appreciations for your attentive presence here at the high-level meeting on National Capital Integrated Coastal Development, NCICD, with Rotterdam delegation. Ladies and gentlemen, we may proceed to the first program, which is the speech by the Vice Governor of Jakarta Capital City Government.
The Honorable Mayor of Rotterdam, Mr. Ahmed Abu Talib, please farewell. Because it's familiar to us. The name sounds familiar. Yes. Delegate from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment of the Kingdom of Netherlands and the City of Rotterdam. Indonesian official, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Jakarta Capital City Government, I would like to warmly welcome again for the Mayor of Jakarta, and we are very thankful too for the central government and from the Netherlands government for this. We have a very long valuable cooperation between us in Jakarta. That's why first we will thank you, the central government. I think this year is the, I always talk to Mr. Yani or developing what. Maybe I want to explain a little about what the different deputy and vice governor. Because Jakarta is a special province. When you want to be a governor or vice governor, it's one pack, governor and vice governor. You have to be elected 50% plus one. It's like a president election. Another province, you just need 30%. Because Jakarta is too large and we don't have a regional House of the Representatives, we have a mayor, region, but mayor and region is not elected. We appoint them as a mayor. That's why in our law, we could appoint 4 deputy governors. And Ibu Handayani is the, how to say tata ruang? Special planning and environment deputy. That's why, just like that. And she could work until 62 years old. If she Indonesian officer only 56 years old and they have to retire. This I want to introduce the word. This I think need to know because she works very hard about this project, this coastal line. We really agree around the world. This is the system and method how to clean the sea when heavy polluted. So we make the new coastal line. This is the idea. But we have another problem. Maybe you have to how to say this? Maybe to redesign again, because we have one for fishery industry each day, almost 5,000 fishermen ship landed to this industry. And we also have in this area, like Wagub, the next of the Wagub is this industry. They hire 43,000 employees, and each day, almost 5,000. And the left side, you could see the real estate. This is the first canal real estate in Indonesia. They call Pantai Mutiara. There are also many ships, many yachts. They want to go to the sea. And the left, again, we have Muara Angke. This is also the fisherman village. And we also have a 2 power plant. This is the coal power plant. So you could imagine if we close this area and we use a gate to open and close, I think it's too heavy for the gate to open for almost maybe 10,000 sheep every day to come in and come out. How about Tanjung Priok? Tanjung Priok is okay. I have seen the design is okay. We have the one canal to go to the Tanjung Priok. But I like to talk to Hassan too, is our assistant economy. We don't want this just become a campaign program, campaign project to tell the Jakarta people we want to develop this coastal development plan. But we really want to make this, our dream become true. Because Jakarta is very important to have a new coastal again, because too polluted. And we have our wastewater management and sewage. We have a 13-man river to solve the wastewater management problem. We believe if all of this could be accomplished, Jakarta is the best place to live, even compared to Netherlands. You know why? Some of the friends from Italy, they have a good sea and beach, ocean. We said, you lose to Jakarta, Indonesia. So why? Because we have 12 months fully could enjoy the sea, but you become ice. You couldn't enjoy. That's why we hope this cooperation will make the Jakarta become the dream place for we enjoy. And we hope we still have a time to still look at or we're still young enough. Young enough to enjoy this accomplished. I think thank you very much.
Next in our program, we will hear the speech by the Mayor of Rotterdam, the Honorable Mr. Ahmed Abu Talib.
Yes, Mayor, thank you for making time this afternoon to begin this meeting and to discuss with us your vision and your plans for the future of this great city of Jakarta, which is indeed different from the city of Rotterdam. But when it comes to its endeavor and the tasks that we have to fulfill, whether the environment, water protection, or on the level of social issues, there are, I think, similarities, and I think it's good to learn from each other. I would like to thank your people first, Mr. Vice Mayor. Some of them are sitting on the second row, but they deserve an applaud from us for the work they did. Thank you all. They prepared the meetings, the logistics, the transports, the food, the security, and that's really without the support it's not possible to be here. Also, I think a great moment to thank our ambassador and his staff for giving us a hand in preparing this meeting, but also for celebrating friendship and for strengthening ties that are between us. And as a matter of fact, Dutch companies involved also in helping you to create your infrastructure, so work here. And I think it's what I said this afternoon during a small meeting is that's not only the case in Jakarta, that's also the case in many world cities. New York, Nowadays, half of the world population is living in cities. Can you imagine what kind of an issue that will be for people? And you are not the only one. I met my colleague in Jakarta, in Shanghai, and asked him, what is your 5 billion euros only from the area near Rotterdam, West Rotterdam. We export 5 billion euros a year of food from that small country. So there is an issue of logistics, and you are working to enhance your logistics for the future. And I think it's food and food security in coastal cities in the future will be, I think, of tremendous political importance. Think that again. For us in Rotterdam, a city that started as a small fisherman's city, a village in fact, people for a very long time have been thinking how to connect the city with the North Sea, which is a distance of 40 kilometers. 40 kilometers. And they did, through decades, a lot of investments. There have been, in the documents of the city council, you may read debates of people saying, why should we do that? It's useless. We spend a lot of money for nothing. But those people were visionary. It's third, and to my knowledge, the best when it comes to logistics. And I think the second important step when it comes to Dutch geography and to Rotterdam geography is creating the land extension. I will talk about that later. And the area you see in front of you, that was really where the port activity started. And more and more activities are moving towards the sea, especially the more hazardous, to go to the next phase of thinking about spatial planning, and that is adaptation. The idea is you can never win from Mother Nature, so it's better to learn to live with Mother Nature and to transform this area in new world that is adapted to the change of climate and change of water. What we did, and that's for the first time, we are good really in creating a comprehensive, integrated vision. But other than we did in the 60s, we are now coming as a city with a detailed plan for that. We say to the market, come up with your ideas. Showing more interest in what we call the transition towards more medical delta and things like that. We need something different to add to the Rotterdam economy. And we're expecting that the private parties will come with initiatives to do that. As to innovation, no economy than sustainable economy. We have a lot of petrochemical industry, but we believe in green future of the petrochemical industry. And also we believe in international orientation, with more and more efforts coming from also partners outside the Netherlands. Next slide, please. To the right, that was during the construction work. The building was not completed. The biggest, when it comes to volume building in Europe, it's just constructed over there. That construction made the soil sink 3 centimeters, just that building, because of its both part of Rotterdam, with its social transition and its housing needs, to move towards the quality we have at the north side of the city. That would take, in my calculations, an additional 2.5 billion public money and 20 years of time. We're talking about transformation of 35,000 houses. Not an easy thing to do. Next slide, please. But we also have fixed houses on pillars of water, but houses that can rise and go down with the water level. And that's really very interesting. We regulated that part of the city, just where it's dark, and asked the market and the private developers to come with ideas. And I can tell you there is a lot of interest in the markets to come with that new idea. It's a very attractive part of the city. The water has been cleaned during the last 20 years. We have salmon in the water. We on the water. We nowadays use it as a center for conferences and small meetings. And that's the idea. And we decided, the city government, that will allow high apartments, high buildings along the riverside. That's why a lot of people in the Netherlands call Rotterdam Manhattan the Maas. When you enter the city from Belgium, from south, you see really a scene to the left along the water side that looks like high buildings in Manhattan. It used to be a very old location for the heavy industry, where even submarines and shipyards have been located there. That kind of industry is nowadays, I can say, not existing anymore in Rotterdam. We don't construct submarines anymore. So that location is now under construction, and the first part of it is already finished, which is a huge working and learning center on technical level for the youth in the city of Rotterdam. So it's an innovative area where vocational training, but also innovative industry is located together, which is really of high value, high standard in technology. But also Heipplaat, Heipplaat, which is a kind of a former village with people that have been working in the port, or we call it blue jobs, and they're living after the war as good as possible near the work, near the job. That is nowadays really becoming more very attractive small village to live. In the immediate surroundings, you find containers, and people love that, to live in such an environment. But also, what I like is to bring also the quality, social quality to this neighborhood. So we built a very wonderful school with a lot of facilities, also to keep kids over there, not to force them to go to other schools outside the own village. So bring quality also to to the places where poor people live. But this is a picture, I think, of the campus of IDN. It's really very fantastic. I had the honor to open it when I was member of the national government. I was Secretary for Social Affairs, and I had the honor to open it in 2007. At the end of this speech, of this introduction, is that the tasks you have here when it comes to water and the youth. And I think it's really important to focus on that. I had this afternoon a radio interview when, with the Dutch radio, they asked me, tell us something about water safety in Jakarta. And I told them, in Rotterdam we have to survive when it comes to water, and people of Jakarta have to survive when it comes to water. Flooding is really risky. It causes a lot of damage to property, to public property, to private property, and it costs a lot of economic growth every year. And people need to reinvest again, and they know next year it may be the same, and the year later it may be the same. And so, as Mr. Van Noord yesterday said to me, there is no other choice but to move forward to better protection of the city. And I hope that the knowledge that we built up last decades in Rotterdam can be profitable for you. We are really happy to share our knowledge with other partners in the world. We do that also by starting what we call the Connect and Delta City Conference. That is a high-level conference organized by the city of Rotterdam, and participants are experts from the world, and also people involved in decision-making processes, just to learn things like how to construct houses in an adaptive way in an area that is not protected. Just building along the water the first and the second floor in a way that you can close that when it's high water. And if it's low water, it's a shop and it's a restaurant and it's a cafe and everything. But if it is high water, you close it and it's over. Maybe that's profitable compared with very costly process of building dikes. But your idea of constructing what you call a giant seawall, I mean, that's really a big ambition for protection of the city. I wish you a lot of success in doing that. And you might always knock on the door of friends if there is any help we can provide. Thank you.
Next in our program is the NCICD presentation by the Deputy Governor of Special Planning and Environment Department of Jakarta Capital City Government. Yang saya hormati Ibu Sarwo Handayani.
The Honorable Mayor of Rotterdam, Mr. Ahmad Abu Talib, the Honorable Representative from the Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, delegates from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Environment of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and the City of Rotterdam. As previously mentioned by the Vice Governor, the issue of water resource management in Jakarta is a very complex issue with many stakeholders involved. The Governor of Jakarta is eager to exercise new breakthrough to overcome this problem. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Jakarta as a delta city, traversed by 13 rivers, is very flood prone. Upstream flooding as well as tidal flooding have caused extended inundation and significant damage to the city. We have attempted several structural and non-structural measures to address this issue, such as construct the East Flood Canal, polder system at low-lying areas, including dredging the fluid ponds, controlling the spatial plan implementation, and providing more green open space. Nevertheless, those measures haven't answered the issue of tidal flooding due to increase in sea level the NCICD concept transform problems and challenges into opportunities for urban revitalization that would create added value to the city. We are very grateful to the Dutch government for providing us with technical assistance in preparation of NCICD master plan and the information of project management unit. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, NCICD development comprises of sea defense wall construction, new land reclamation, development of new roads and railway network, new port development to support the existing Tanjung Priok port, and development of raw water reservoir. NCICD concept has also considered the new Jakarta Waterfront City development that is currently under construction. One of 17 islands of land reclamation has been completed. Next slide, please. The new land reclamation development is expected to provide cross-subsidy for urban renewal in North Jakarta. We are mindful that such development requires huge investment, thus we should consider several funding options. Several possible funding options are the collaborative funding from central and local budget, private sector investment and public-private partnership scheme. However, we are still lacking the experience in preparing a PPP scheme for mega infrastructure projects. We will therefore take this opportunity to learn from the city of Rotterdam that have good international network and have long successful story in developing the ports with PPP schemes and other resources of funding. Issues. First, strategy of harbor development in relation to urban and economic revitalization and flood safety. Second, sharing of public and public-private experience. The third is International Panel for Strategy and Policy. Therefore, propose an intense cooperation program in human resource development that focus on traineeship for young professionals. If we were successful in the implementation of NCICD, this would become, To conclude, I would once again convey our highest appreciation for our city cooperation. May this cooperation bring prosperity to our cities and countries. Thank you.
On the topic of G2G cooperation framework, Mr. Michiel de Leijster.
Thank you very much. A little bit about the relationship between the Netherlands and Indonesia in the field of water. On purpose saying in the field of water because we're not only talking about water nowadays, we're talking about many related topics. We've come from a situation where we had a bilateral relationship between the Ministry of Public Works in Indonesia and the Ministry of Environment on the Indonesian side with the Ministry of Transfer of Public Works and Water Management in the Netherlands. In the past years we've made a move to include many other parties because we're talking about integrated development. And integrated development, I believe, the sense we're talking about integrated development, you need to include many parties with different expertise and with different responsibilities. And on the Indonesian side, we've included Bapenas, already closely involved in many of the projects we're working on. The Coordinating Ministry of Economic Affairs, Menko, Perekonomian. Local government, DKI, especially because we're working on the projects in Jakarta. And I think this is a big step we made together. On the Netherlands side also we included parties which are important for our know-how and the parties that have responsibilities related to this. We're standing about a year ago, in July 2012. I should say naturally also from the Dutch side we included Rotterdam municipality as the parties because the water does not always only come from Jakarta. Right? And naturally an important topic, and yes we're pleased Ibu Yani has moved towards the responsibility of spatial planning because this all has to do with spatial planning a lot as well. And then again, something was said just now by Uyani about the port development. Port development, logistics, infrastructure, all these things are related very closely. But let's not forget the people, the population. And I think in these projects, including the population, raising awareness, including the fishermen, for instance, who are on the coast. All these issues are make this a very complex, complicated issue. I should round off, but I just want to say we're not only working on the National Capital Integrated Coastal Development Project, we're working on lowlands development within our MOU. The Semarang Polder project, which is also a related kind of project to this project. And one of the issues now we're starting up is the Young Water Professional Development Program to also include the younger generation and share the know-how amongst the younger generation. I want to round off now. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to say a little bit about the relation. I think we have done a lot, and I'm pleased that we see that again we're at the table with many of our friends and with the experts from both sides. And one thing was already said, Mr. Mayor Abu Talib is now here. Just a few months ago, the Secretary General of my ministry visited. In a few months' time, we have the Prime Minister and the Minister of Development, Cooperation and Trade, and all are working in the field of water management, or their programs are dealing with the water management. Next year, our Minister of Infrastructure and Environment will visit, so there's a lot of focus on the water management relations between both our countries, and I think we should both be pleased with that. Thank you very much.
Overview on the topic of Rotterdam port developments by the Rotterdam Port Authority, Mr. Willem Galen.
Thank you very much. Try to explain to you a little bit on the Maasvlakte 2 project, the land reclamation project for the Port of Rotterdam, and what I would like. The message I would like to convey is that it is not a port project in itself, it's also part of an integrated planning scheme dealing with the total coastal development and the relation between city and port. Next slide please. This is the Maasvlakte 2 project. The original coastline is running like here. This was the first land reclamation, and this is the second one, the Maasvlakte 2 project. And to explain why it is very much part of an integrated approach, we have to go back a few steps in time. Next slide, please. And then we go really far back to where it all started. On the right side, you see Rotterdam as it actually started, literally as a dam in the river Rotter. That's where the name came from. Next slide, please. And the city evolved, and on the left side you can see that it's already taking the shape which you still can recognize in the city. If you then, next slide please, if you then translate that in how the port develops, then you see on the very right side the first port areas, and moving west, and also sequential in time, you see further developments. Here, the Walenhaven, at that time built by hand, dug out by hand, not by the big vessels from Van Oort, but by hand. Here you see the petrochemicals coming in, Shell refinery, other petrochemical industries. Here the main petrochemical oil storage, and here on the first Maasvlakte, the deep sea container activities, dry bulk, and also crude oil reception facilities. Next slide, please. So what actually happens is that the port is moving west, and that is actually a balance between two powers. The city is pushing and the port is pulling. The city is pushing because the mayor, he needs room for housing and other urban activities. The capacity of the infrastructure also is becoming more and more critical to support port functions, and that requires a sustainable transformation zone between city and port, and the mayor gave some excellent examples of that. But also the port is pulling, ships grow bigger, the bigger ships, they are much deeper than we can accommodate in the older port basins. They cannot maneuver there anymore, they are too big. But also operations are changing. In the older days, it all went by hand, and you had to have the warehouses just behind the quay wall. Nowadays, containers are being handled on automated terminals, which require a lot of space. And also the balance between the environmental impacts, environmental effects, and the regulations in that area, and the impact they have on the operations, for instance, causing quality of living and nature. And that doesn't mean, like it is normally done, that the effects of the land reclamation, of the additional industrial activities, the effects that it have, that the negative effects have to be compensated. No, on top of that, we have added additional measures to improve the quality and also the development of nature, especially around the city. The port area itself is 2,000 hectares gross area, which is about a 20% expansion of the total port area, and the first part of it has now been completed. Mainly designated for use by containers, the real deep sea container transport, and the total project is estimated about 3 billion euro. Next one, please. This slide shows all the different measures which have been taking place in the Maasvlakte 2 project. Actually, you see the green one is the actual land reclamation. It's only one of them. There are numerous projects here having to do with recreational parks for people, intensifying the use of the existing port area. Also here, the sea, a part of the sea has been nominated as a nature reserve with restrictions on fishing activities, also to give there more potential for the development of nature values over there.
It's there, sorry, can you put that in the south? It's that we had flooding in 1953, which as a result,
Here, everybody.
yeah, really a lot of casualties and a lot of damage. That was for the Dutch government the inspiration to go forward with what we call waterworks.
The contract which has now been finalized, amongst others, by Van Oort for the first phase, which is about 800 hectares of area which has been developed, removal of the existing sea dam and creating the new one, quay walls, and also the landside infrastructure like roads, railroad. Railroad especially important because we try to stimulate as much as possible use of hinterland transport by railroad instead of trucks, which cause congestion and create air pollution. So that has also been in the contract which has been completed recently. Next one, please. And then what are the key success factors in having been able to complete that project within budget and within time, which is also in the Netherlands not a very common thing. For us as support authority, it was very important to have launching clients because we are developing these kind of projects on a economical ratio. So we use a business case in which we calculate, of course, the investment cost we have to do, but also the revenues we will get from it. And that business case will then also include all the public infrastructure which is required, also even the sea defense, which of course does not generate direct money for us, but is an integrated part of the total project. We have been managing the project in such a way that the permitting and tendering procedure have been dealt with in an integrated way, which enabled us up to in a very late stage to accommodate new insights, new requirements from the clients, but also the expertise of the contractors to bring in and to optimize the design and construction works. The way it has been built with sand, the natural building material over there, it's all trying to make use of nature as much as possible. And we not only have been looking at sustainable construction, but also sustainable operations. The companies who are going to operate the first two container terminals on the second Maasvlakte, for instance, they have, through their lease contract, the obligation to only accept trucks which satisfy the highest EU standards, clean engines, so little emissions. They have contractually the obligation to have a maximum number of maximum percentage of containers to the hinterland by truck. The rest they have to do by much environmental more friendly railroad and/or barges. And last, but definitely not least, intensive stakeholder management has been key for the project. And to be very honest, we learned that the hard way. We got stuck somewhere in our procedures because we didn't pay enough attention to that. But I think some more of these issues, but definitely also the stakeholder management, I think would also apply in the situation here to involve everybody affected by the project is a real key issue.
I add two remarks to this presentation. We privatized the Port Authority, although the president of the port is still coming to me once a month to report. But when it comes to its commercial operations, they act as private, not as a government body. So they are allowed to sign contracts, to come up with deals with companies above a certain limit of budget. They need an approval from the city council. So that's really important. But why is that, I think, an interesting remark? Because ports in the world are owned by governments, but they use cities, and cities tend to say, I have nothing with the ports. They cause damage to my roads, they bring a lot of pollution to, and so on and so on, and we have no benefit from it. Well, the port pays the city of Rotterdam every year 65 million euros of benefits, dividends. And an additional 20 million is going to the national government of the city. And they make about 500 million euros a year, so the remaining benefits is reinvested in the port again. So they pay, for instance, the loan for the second Maasvlakte and the benefits back to the banks from the money they make as a port. But nevertheless, they pay the city 65 million euros a year, which is free budget. We can use it to build houses or to make roads. So if I complain that the roads are broken down, then the national government can say, well, you get profit from the port, do it yourself. So that's really interesting to see how the port, the local government and the national government are linked with each other in a very special way, which is really unique in the world. I hardly find that concept elsewhere in the world. The second part is that what I find really strong in the Rotterdam concept port, and I'm really new on Rotterdam, I've lived there now for 4 years, is that the port is not only handling cargo coming in and getting out, but they deal also with land lease. They are also a landlord. They have land given by the city to the port authority, and they can lease that land to generate activities, as for instance in the industry. That makes that in the port nowadays, more than 80,000 people are working daily. So 80,000 families are living from the port, which is a really interesting number. 80,000 people. And we're not talking about the additional industries that are linked to the port. 80,000 people living from the port. And that makes that really, there is a big link between the city and the port. It used to be in the past that one crane, that's what they told me, one crane has been operated by 8 people. Nowadays, one crane is operated by 3-4 people. And the new cranes in the second Maasvlakte will be operated by no people. Which means that the labor possibilities are no longer generated along the water, but in the hinterland. So the industry is becoming more and more important. It's not in our value, in our interest that a container who comes to Rotterdam is moved directly to Germany. It's our interest that the container is going to be opened, that we add value to the goods in the container, we do something with the goods in the container, and then move it to another country. That generates labor. So it's really interesting to take also these managerial aspects into consideration. And our friends from the Port Authority, they are highly skilled in this domain. I thought it was important to give you these remarks. Thank you. But what questions? I have a question to the Vice Mayor. Is that okay? In terms of protection of the city,
I think the deputy could answer this question. Because I'm the newcomer.
She has all knowledge.
You're older than me.
I need to correct me. I said Vice Mayor, and I say Vice Governor. Sorry. It's correct.
From our presentation, change the strategy. Maybe as an idea.
Maybe I will give how to say it, maybe this is an honest answer. No political answer. Yeah. We thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We learned about the 70-30. This is a good idea. And it is very brilliant idea about how to solve the central government and the local government issue. But we have many interests. I'll give you an example. We have industrial zone We call it PT Kawasan Berikat Nusantara. But the central government, more than 80%, not us. That's the problem. That's why I have to tell you the truth, not talk about the politics. I tell you the truth, we talk about business to business, thinking about the local government and the central government. And when we talk about the port, seaport, what you have seen, 100% we don't have a share. That's the problem. And you see there on the progress development, the extent for their seaport, even the permission they don't ask our government. That's the fact. That's why when we ask for the elevated road from the Bekasi to this new seaport, I talked to Mr. Rino, you know him well. I said, no, I need a share from the port. Because when your port come out, that means you become the deep seaport, maybe 18 meters, 20 meters. And you need the logistic for this new seaport. I will provide you 3 islands. Each island is 500 hectares. So we have 1,500 hectares. 1 island is a utility island. And the 2 islands become a logistic island. So I will give you the share for this island, but you give me the share for your seaport. That's what we want to make the deal. That is a little bit different with the Netherlands government.
It sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Mr. Rino said, ask government to government, so like left pocket to the right pocket, it's okay. I don't care what it is. I said, okay. But we have another problem too. What's the problem? If we talk about the local government, we still have a problem. That's why our strategy is we have this is province company. We give the responsibility to the PT Jakarta Property to develop this. So the PT Jakarta Property will make a deal with this seaport company. If they don't agree, I think we will make our own seaport on the left side. That's not a problem. Yeah, and I think the seaport will have a problem. We will make a new seaport. But I think it's a little bit difficult. That's why we have another job for this. When I look at the idea about this giant seawall, I like to make a ridicule to the former governor. I told him, this giant seawall is just for campaign, not for the real. Nobody wants to invest if you just make a giant seawall just for road. You have to make that as an island. If as an island, we have to sell the property, everybody has an interest to do this. Even our own company could make this happen. That's different. But if you make this a giant seawall, beside the problem with the fisher industry, everything like that, nobody interested in this. Like you. People interested because we have a city too. Not only a port, not only a giant seawall. We need a new city. Maybe like this new New York or new Manhattan, but have a function as a giant seawall. That's why I said they have to redesign this project. Now we put our first step is a reality. We want to accomplish our 17th island first. This Costa. So this will become, I think one of the oil company already worked as a B island, C island, from C, as a Nada Sakti. You have learned, so it's better to accomplish the 17th island first. But thank you very much about the idea. We want to get the dividend from the seaport. I think this is very important because the left is not our province, the right is not our province. Now, how to make these 3 provinces could work together? Because this is the right side is the West Java, and the left is the Banten province, and our southern side is also West Java. That's not the problem. That's why I talked to Mr. Governor. Therefore, one solution to make this happen. He's asking, how? You move to the North Merdeka Road office. President. This is not the job, you know. Our office, City Hall, is on the South Merdeka Road. The palace, President Palace, is North Merdeka Road. So the easy way is just go through the park, National Monument Park, check the office. You can solve this problem. That's the reality. Thank you very much.
My party, Labour Party, has been, when I was involved in writing our election program in 2006, one of our ideas was to stop what we call the water boards. Water boards are the very old democratic elected organizations to take care for water safety in the Netherlands. 2013, I learned nowadays that that was really a wrong step. We should keep them doing good work. But to do that, we pay as citizens in the Netherlands a designated tax. We pay per household a sum of money, and it varies between 300 euros, 400, 450 euros a year per household. I'm wrong? Something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah? At least I know what I pay. Per household, depending on the number of people living in a house, designated taxes for these water boards. And it's their task to take care of the dikes, to reinforce dikes, to make dikes, etc. We have been talking in the car, can such a system be helpful in generating money for water protection in Jakarta? I have been calculating, you have 60 million people. In the case you ask every citizen of every household to pay $10 a year, that's not the problem. Would it be? I mean, the benefit for people is there will be no flooding. The benefit for people, there will be no flooding. They don't need to repair the houses every year. There will be no need to repair roads and everything. Is the way we have been dealing with water boards in the Netherlands, maybe an idea? I have been calculating that you can easily generate 300 million euros a year.
Yeah, we will copy this. Yeah, we have a land and building tax. Now the central government has delivered this authority to our province government. So we have the right to increase the tax. And this time is very open. I think this is our advantage too, this time, because the land tax, the government land tax, and the market rate price very far, almost 5 times. If on the paper they pay the tax, they use only 5 million rupiah, but the real market price is already about 20-25 million rupiah. That's why we want to increase maybe 3 times. We increase 3 times. Oh yeah. But we give to the veteran, the war veteran, the government official, a discount 75%. Because they live in the big house. We don't know, because Indonesian government official pension fund very low. Very low. That's the idea of the central government. Like me, my salary only 1 month, only $700 US. You could imagine it. But my operation money, very big. More than 100,000 US dollar a month is Jakarta. But I could not take this to my pension fund. That's the problem. That's why we really want to change this nation, transform this nation, to move to the North Paris. Change this, to transform this. That's not the idea. But we very thank you for this. Kenapa sih tutup belum? Belum ya?
discussion after this.
It's called discussion.
Discussion.
I don't know. We need more discussion or not, because maybe we will have a more discussion and seriously after next year. We don't know what happened in 2014. Yeah, we don't know what happened. In Indonesia, always many, how to say it, uncertainty. Yeah, always surprised. You never imagined before from a mayor in Central Java, Solo be a governor in Jakarta. A region from a small island in Belitung be a vice governor in Jakarta. You never imagined before. And we don't have enough money to run as a governor candidate or vice governor candidate. But we have a party to nominate us. And this is the first time we don't sell a t-shirt, but people to support us and to buy our t-shirt. This is the first time. So we don't know what happens next year. But one thing we believe, we thank you once again. Thank you for Mayor to nurture our cooperation, two cities. And we really hope this cooperation will bring prosperity to our city, to our nation, and also to our people. And we believe it's very fruitful talking this afternoon. And we learned many from Rotterdam about how to the pot pulling and the post. It's very good idea. And we now the trend is everybody want to make a new coastal development. And I think Jakarta is still very far. Even you put many coastal development again, we still have 1,000 islands. We still big 1,000 islands. Then you push to the north side again, reach my island, Belitung Island. And very far from Natuna and from Singapore. That's why Jakarta is still a very big opportunity to do this. And we believe one of the country could help us is from Netherlands, because you have experience and you have a track record and a proof what you have done. And that's why we hope we could keep contact and have a good relation. And the team, we keep on the progress, but you have to a little bit change the idea about only a great sea war. I want is a great island war that make the money. That's what we want. Thank you very much.
I guess the governor already, the vice governor already concluded. So, but before we close, is there any more exchange of views?
I think it's time.
No more? Okay. Yes.
This is a very good opportunity for me, for us actually, from the central government. I said from Purnama. One thing, and I think this is proposed to the vice governor, because I'm actually in charge of water resource and irrigation in Purnama. And that's one thing that sometimes I feel a little bit cautious, because when we are dealing with the government of Jakarta, we don't have specific dinas for water. So I think this is my proposal. Please open up the dinas water resources, especially because you deal with the flood, you deal with water supply, you deal with water quality, but not only the transport.
That's on the progress.
Okay. Thank you. This is my concern also. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more? I'll conclude with the closing statement, and I give it back to the to the announcer, please.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you for the fruitful discussion. So we have heard the closing statements from Mr. Vice Governor.
No, I think no need the closing statement.
No need to close.
Because in my memory has done. No, we have a stand-up comedy in Jakarta. So when we have a pension, not enough money, we go to the stand-up comedy. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, sure, very well. We are ready to go behind. Yes, I'm almost every week.
Gimana Pak hasil pertemuan dengan Walikota?
Ya, jadi kita belajar banyak dari Walikota Rotterdam. Jadi termasuk misalnya pembagian waktu membangun reklamasi pulau, membuat kota baru dengan pelabuhan baru, itu sampai pembagian sahamnya itu pemerintah Rotterdam itu 70%, pusat hanya 30%. Lalu dia kasih sebuah otorita, sebuah kawasan khusus, mereka yang mengelola pelabuhan ini bisa handle sendiri. Lalu keuntungannya itu tiap tahun sampai 65 juta euro untuk kotanya Rotterdam. Jadi mereka bisa punya uang banyak untuk mengelola ini. Nah, tapi kalau kita kan sedikit berbeda kan, kita pelabuhan-pelabuhan laut ini 1% pun kita tidak punya. Bahkan pelabuhan-pelabuhan membuat reklamasi tanpa izin kami malahan. Nah, ini sesuatu yang berbeda. Dan kita mau belajar, dan kalau kita mau buat logistik, kita mau minta saham juga dari pemerintah pusat. Kalau tidak mau, kami akan membangun pelabuhan sendiri. Kalau begitu caranya. Itu kita belajar banyak dari Rotterdam. Jadi dia juga kasih tahu pada kita, ke depan ini orang kalau menyelesaikan pencemaran laut, itu memang satu-satu itu membuat pantai baru. Supaya ini ditutup, jadi ada laut baru yang lebih bersih gitu. Tapi ini semua dikepung, dikelola, air limbahnya semua dikelola dengan baik. Jadi kita belajar banyak dari Pak Wali Kota, Mayor Rotterdam ini very help us and give us many idea from his experience. Jadi pengalaman banyak banget kita untuk itu aja. Ini dulu wawancara aja saya. Tanya aja.
Yeah, Mr. What do you think about in Indonesia? Is pollution minimum?
Excellency.
We have been talking about the differences in managing ports and land reclamation. A lot of ports in the world are run by national governments, but they are linked with cities. And cities get a lot of troubles with the ports, a lot of traffic, a lot of cars, and so on. But the cities do not always benefit from the port. That's different to Rotterdam. The port has always been in the hands of the city, not in the hands of the national government. It is our port. And since a number of years, the government is participating in funding the port with 30%. But the city is still the majority shareholder with 70%, 70. That means that we profit as a city every year with 65 million euros. The Port Authority is paying a dividend to the city. And they make 500 million euros a year, so the remaining money is reinvested in the port. That makes that we have 80,000 people working in the port, and the port is paying a benefit to the city. That the coalition between the port and the city is fantastic, it's excellent. So we have been talking about the way we manage our port. Maybe that gives ideas about how to manage. The other issue is how to finance great waterworks to prevent the city from flooding. In the Netherlands, we pay all households every year a designated special tax to water boards, and they are responsible for dikes and prevention of water. That's a lot of money. We pay as citizens designated taxation. It's maybe an idea also to involve the people of Jakarta in thinking about different ways of financing great, important works. If you are affected every year by flooding, you have to buy new furniture, you have to repair your house, the city must repair the roads and everything. Is it maybe an idea to pay $10 per household tax together to make a great protection for the city? Then nobody has to pay damage, you don't have to repair your house, there is no need to buy new furniture, the city is not there to reconstruct roads. That is maybe an idea to think about how to generate money, public money, to deal with big works. I mean, protection of the city with dikes is a big work. It takes 100 years. That's, I think, the profit of exchanging ideas. How can we help each other not only with support and knowledge and money, but also with ideas. And of course, for us, it's very important as a small city to be friends with Jakarta, a very stable, great city in the world, as we are friends with Moscow, St. Petersburg, New York, and Rio de Janeiro. That's for us as a city of Rotterdam, depending on international trade, very important to stay connected with Jakarta. If there's a lot of trade in Jakarta, there could be a lot of trade between Jakarta and Rotterdam. That's good for both cities, for both points.
Itu sudah tim dari pusat, dari Bappenas, dari PU. Ini ada kerjasama antara pusat dan DKI, juga dengan Belanda, untuk bisa mewujudkan sistem ini. Nah, tentu saja kita harus ada hitungan bisnisnya juga kan, supaya orang bisa tertarik untuk investasi. Nah, seperti tadi kita punya PBB. Kita bisa saja tidak mengeluarkan sebuah pajak khusus untuk sumbangan seperti di Belanda, tapi kita bisa menaikkan dari pajak bumi bangunan kan. Orang perumahan-perumahan yang mewah bisa kita naikkan juga, tapi tentu tidak jauh dari harga pasar mereka. Nah, kita bisa dapatkan uang ini, dan kita juga berpikir harus membuat pulau. Kalau tidak ada pulau untuk sebagai penahan ini, tentu tidak ada daya tarik bagi pihak luar atau swasta untuk menginvestasikan uangnya yang begitu besar. Dan kita juga lebih penting lagi, kita ingin minta pelabuhan Indonesia jadi besar, harus ada bagi saham. Nah, saya kira itu yang mesti kita tanya lagi deh. Kita baru studi, kita tanya Bu Yani nih. Menentukan mana yang berhak, ini adalah menjadi keputusan Menkumham. Tapi sampai menunggu Menkumham kan kasihan sopir-sopir karena pemilik mobil yang 1212 itu. Nah, kita tawarkan pada mereka, katanya kalau bisa perbaiki langsung masuk saja ke dalam jalur busway. Walaupun izin Anda tidak masuk PT, kalau PT sudah masuk, baru Anda masuk. Terus ada juga di kelompok yang bisa menyediakan bus yang banyak pada mereka. Saya bilang silakan aja, kami jamin tidak akan pernah mencabut traik Anda gitu. Misalnya ini kelompok ini yang udah invest besar-besaran atau keluar dari kehakiman dan Menkumham bukan milik mereka, PT Metro Mini. Kami kasihkan mereka satu badan baru, kooperasi atau apa, yang penting mereka bisa beroperasi. Kami tidak akan pernah mencabut. Itu yang kami janjikan pada mereka. Ya, karena bagi kami kan yang paling penting masyarakat warga DKI ini punya transportasi massal yang gampang, yang banyak gitu. Kalau sekarang kan Transjakarta saja dari yang 600 yang tidak cukup, 40% itu nggak bisa pakai sebetulnya. Kita mau beli mobil murah ya, saya kira kita nggak bisa melawan pemerintah pusat ya, kita paling bisa komplain aja kan. Jadi kan kita bisa membuat sistem, ada pajak progresif yang mahal, terus kita mau menghubungkan pembeli mobil dengan pajak penghasilan. Jadi dia bayar pajak nggak? Karena banyak sekali orang-orang menengah ini memakai sopir, pembantu untuk beli mobil. Nah kalau kita cek, dia tidak mampu bayar pajak, kita kejar pajaknya, pajak penghasilannya. Nah kalau itu masih tidak cukup, kita juga buat IRP dan donasi parkir. Kalau masih tidak cukup, mobil-mobil yang parkir di jalan akan kami derek. Jadi kalau mobil-mobil yang tidak punya garasi, itu tidak perumahan mereka. Kalau di jalan dengan pemerintah, mereka mobil parkir di sana malam, kami akan derek gitu. Satu pihak juga menguntungkan industri sebetulnya, cuma Jakarta yang masalah gitu.